10 o'clock. Now, Fox 35 News at 10.
Denied the American dream. It's the side of the immigration debate you haven't heard.
Yeah, it's the side that everybody seems to agree is wrong, doesn't make any sense, and yet needs to be changed. And yet the very people that we want to come to America are the very ones that we are making it the hardest for.
Admit it, this is what you picture when you hear immigration reform, Arizona border patrols, and federal lawsuits. But there's another side that no one is talking about.
We really are the forgotten ones in the mix.
Bob Franklin and his wife Tricia run an automotive business in Albuquerque.
It's the biggest shop of its type in the state of New Mexico.
For nearly 20 years, they've paid taxes and put Americans to work.
We employ at the moment 11 people.
Bob and Tricia are part of a relatively small group on E2 visas, people around the world who pay huge sums to come here to run a business.
These businesses employ nearly 1 million Americans.
But while they're growing our economy, their futures are always in limbo. The E2 visa gives them no road to citizenship, forces them to regularly leave the country and their business for weeks at a time. And their children, despite being educated completely on the American taxpayer dime, have to leave the country when they reach 21.
The country where it's most difficult for them to use that degree is the one in which they've earned it.
And their reward for decades of supporting Uncle Sam? No retirement.
We can't retire. We have to have our business in order to stay in the United States. If we don't have our business, then we would have to leave.
In theory, we leave the country and the pension there could be sent to us somewhere else for us to spend.
Bob and Tricia, legal immigrants who fell in love with the American Midwest and made it their home, but who can never truly call it their homeland.
No matter whatever happens in our lives, I will still say, and my wife will say the same, that we made the right decision.
Yeah.
Well, so they're not bitter at all, but joining us to talk a little bit more about this, we've got Zoe Adams, who's been leading the fight to get the E2 visa changed. She started e2reform.org. Check it out. And Rustin Hurd, an immigration attorney and frequent guest right here on Fox 35. Thank you for joining us tonight. Zoe, it seems like a no-brainer, this whole thing. Everybody I talk to, it seems to think that. You've been to Washington. You've talked to congressmen. Do they agree that something needs to change?
They do. We were in Washington just recently, back in March, and everybody we spoke to, they either didn't know what the E2 visa was, right, or as soon as they did know what it was, they were quite happy for us to have some changes made so that we could become green card holders.
Let's see if we can light a fire under them. All right, this, Rustin, this is called an investment visa, but why is there no provision in it for people who are turning this investment into a big success? It's like saying, you know, thanks for the great telephones, Mr. Graham Bell, but now we need you to head back to Scotland.
Well, unfortunately, it's one of the great mysteries of our immigration system. People like Bob and Tricia, who have worked hard to bring jobs here to America, and then they're left without a possibility of any reward for bringing jobs to our economy. That's why immigration reform is so desperately needed right now, especially with the economy the way it is, so that more Bob and Tricias will come over here and create jobs for Americans.
But real quick, since you brought that up, is this little change in the E2 visa, is it going to get lost in the big Arizona shuffle that's going on right now?
Well, that's the great concern, is that because of the distraction that this has created, we're leaving out people like Bob and Tricia and others that come over here that actually help the U.S. economy. It's something that needs to be focused on more, and it's being lost in the shuffle.
Zoe, when I first brought up this story, a lot of folks said to me, well, didn't they know the rules when they signed on? How do you answer that, and were those the rules when you signed on?
Yeah, we moved here 7 years ago, and at that time we were told, you know, it's never going to lead to a green card. Your children will age out at 21. But, you know, you don't really understand it until you're living here. Until you've been here for a while and you want to stay. Right. You've built a successful business. I actually call it the ridiculous visa, because who in their right mind comes to a new country, brings lots of money, lots of investment, and then says, you know, I'm being successful now, I think I'll leave.
Zoe, we didn't really talk much about it, but we're talking about your kids. When the kids are here, you educate them. Taxpayers pay everything for their education, roughly $250,000, and then we say, thanks, take that great education and overseas somewhere. So America doesn't even reap the benefits for that. It's an untold cost we don't even look at.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you know, our children finish college and they have to find a job that will sponsor them to have a green card, and in this time of recession, that's not an easy thing to do. So they could have gone through their whole education, they could have gone through the last 7 years of education and never actually be able to put it to good use.
Russell, what do you think we can get done to change this? Is there a possibility of it getting changed?
Well, hopefully so. I think that what needs to happen is that we need to focus on the things that we can accomplish, even if comprehensive immigration reform is not a possibility. Things that simply don't make sense, like what's happened to Bob and Tricia, there needs to be a solution for that. And at least we need to pick and choose things that we can all agree upon, where both sides can come together and pass reform.
Real quick, is there a congressional get-out-of-jail-free card? Is there somewhere a congressman can reach into his back pocket and say, you know what, here, you should stay here?
It's a very difficult process, but yes, it is possible for Congress to pass a particular law, but that is very difficult to make happen.
All right, Rustin, Zoe, we appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We should mention that